Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. And again, today I'm your co host, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. Ellen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, what's we going to talk about today, please?
One of our favorite, harvesting garlic and onions.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's talk about garlic first.
Okay.
Okay, but I want to give you a few pre-harvest reminders about garlic, if you don't mind. First of all, don't fertilize or water them, okay, in the month before your harvest. The
hmm
rainwater's fine, okay, but just don't add any supplemental moisture to it. It needs to kind of enrich the flavor if it needs, because it needs to kind of concentrate the flavor a little bit. Okay,
Okay.
and then remember that there's hardneck and soft neck
hmm
garlic.
hmm
And some people
hmm
call the hard neck stiff neck garlic. And I want to just take a minute to explain the two different ones. The hard neck garlic has a flower stalk that originates at the base of the developing garlic bulb, and it grows up through the center of the garlic cloves and forms a stem called a scape that grows above the plant and forms what they call a top set or an umbel, and it has a bud on it with multiple flowers that develop into small garlic cloves after fertilization. So that entire scape, that curled flower stem, you can and really should be harvested as it begins to curl. That scape has a wonderful mild garlic taste to it and is great for spring cooking and salads. People love that. In fact, if you go to a fruit stand and try to buy it, if you can find it, okay, it's quite pricey. So sample those things if you're growing hard garlic. Uh, but also you got to keep in mind that it's good to cut that scape off even if you're not going to use it, because if you allow it to mature, it's going to reduce the size of your garlic bulbs
Right.
by as much as 30%.
hmm
And the so you got to keep that in mind. um, in those small garlic bulbs, okay, that develop at the top, it can also be used in cooking. The whole garlic plant
Right.
is edible. The soft
Right.
garlic, okay, does not have that flower stalk, and therefore it's referred to as a soft neck garlic. And that's
hmm
what actually allows for those soft neck garlic plants, once you've harvested them, to actually be braided into, some kind of a cluster that you see, pretty pictures in gardening books and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
That's soft
Yeah.
garlic. And
We used to do that
did you? Okay.
on the
Okay.
farm.
on the farm. Okay. And again, the garlic can be harvested at any time during the growing season and used as green garlic in your kitchen. But now that we're close to harvesting, so what about harvesting of the garlic itself? When should we do that?
Well, you want to start doing that when the leaves begin to turn yellow and brown. Okay. So you want to watch them. And then make sure that the conditions are right for harvesting. And there's some simple guidelines to follow. You want your soil to be somewhat dry. Again, you don't want to be working in wet soil anyway. And so you loosen that soil and then very carefully dig up that garlic plant. Um, you want to make sure that you don't damage the garlic itself. And then leave the leaves on that garlic bulb at this stage, and don't leave the bulbs sit in direct sun. You want them to dry, but you want them to dry in away from the direct sun. Don't wash them. You want the soil to dry so that you can gently rub it off, and then be very gentle with the bulbs. You don't want to bruise them because if you do, they could decay. So you want to be careful with them. What about curing them and
Well,
storing them, Mike?
curing them, you put those bulbs and the plant now in a cool, dry, well ventilated place to
Mm-hmm.
dry. And it might take 2 to 4 weeks depending upon how much ventilation you got through there.
Mm-hmm.
And the bulbs should be placed in a single layer, and then after drying them, you cut that stem to about an inch above the bulb and you remove the roots, and then you store them in a cool, dry, well ventilated place. And some people like to put them in the vegetable bin of their refrigerator, which works really well. I mean, depending upon how much garlic you have. So,
Right.
and you got to kind of keep in mind that the soft neck bulbs will actually store um,
mm-hmm.
a little longer
longer.
than the
Hmm.
hardneck varieties. So
Right.
kind of keep that in mind as you're doing that. So consume those hardneck if you've grown both. Consume the hardneck first. Okay. Well, but what about
Hmm.
onions? Very similar practice, right?
Yeah, they're kind of just like the garlic. They can be harvested and used at any time during the growing season once they're ready to be harvested. But you want to stop fertilizing them when the necks of the onion plants start to feel soft. And this happens about 4 weeks before they're ready to be harvested. Um, and you want to keep that soil moist, but not overly wet. And they're fully mature when the tops start to fall over naturally. I know people are walking by my garden and the onions look wonderful, but they go, "Oh," I go, "Well, they're not ready yet because they're standing up tall." So you want to pull the onion plants from the ground, trim the roots, and cut back the tops again to about 1.5 inches. And be gentle. You don't want to bruise the onions. Place them in a cool, dry, well ventilated location in a single layer. Don't layer them or put them in a bag like that. And it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks. And then you can, after they've dried, you can store them in a mesh bag or in stockings in a cool, dry area somewhere in your home. Um, I like to do mine kind of in this little room off my garage. It doesn't get real hot in there. And your sweet onions have more water and therefore a shorter shelf life than those real pungent onions. So they should probably be used first. And like Mike says, eat your sweets first because he likes his sweets.
Yes, eat your sweets first. Okay. So we just got done, curing all the garlic from the Emmaus
Uh
garden
huh.
in my garage. Okay, we
Uh-huh.
just took it out
But
of
it
there.
smells good,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
well, it doesn't right now, but
Oh, it
I'm
didn't.
probably going to start moving the onions in pretty soon because my onions,
Hmm.
the tops are starting to fall over on them, and
Mm.
it looks like a pretty good crop. So
Oh, good.
I'm kind of pleased so far. So
Yeah.
I told my wife she's free to go and raid the garden for onions anytime she wants. So
Yeah. The
so
onions seem to be doing very well this year
yeah,
everywhere.
well,
So that's good.
that's right. Okay,
Hmm.
Ellen, it looks like we've used up our time for today. So good luck with your harvest on your garlic and onions, and we'll talk next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.